Injury Court.
You are suing for $1.2 million.
We come and hit this tent, and we immediately fall out, bounce off, and hit the ground.
You all could have been killed out there.
We could have been.
I thought I was dead.
This is the hardware in your bag.
I can't even make love to my own husband.
They were hurt because they were hanging off the side of the basket when this all took place. Ultimately, they're responsible for pins in their back and the fact that
We're responsible
they
for
can't
pins in
make
our
love
back.
anymore.
Wow.
Folks,
Maybe you needed
we're gonna have
some
order
love.
in the court.
Judge Gino Brogdon spent 10 years on the bench ruling on cases worth billions of dollars. Now he presides over some of the largest claims in TV history. This is Personal Injury Court.
Good day, everyone. This is the matter of Simon versus Nelson. Mr. and Mrs. Simon, it's my understanding that you're suing Mr. Nelson and his company, Magic in the Air. It's a hot air balloon company. You all sustained severe injuries while riding in his hot air balloon. You're asking this court to award you medical bills of $275,000.
This case opens like something out of a nightmare. Mr. and Mrs. Simon are suing for a staggering $1.2 million after what was supposed to be a romantic hot air balloon ride turned into a near-death crash landing. We're talking broken backs, fractured hips, and a marriage interrupted by pain and metal rods. But here's the question. Was this a freak accident or flat-out negligence?
Lost wages of $75,000, emotional distress of $350,000, pain and suffering of $500,000 for a total award of $1.2 million. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Nelson, you believe that had they heeded your safety instructions while they were in your balloon, they never would have been hurt. This is their fault. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, well, let's get into the legal sauce. What led y'all to want to ride in a hot air balloon?
Well, Your Honor, we've been married for about 8 years now. He's my high school sweetheart. We've been in love since the first day that I met him. And we're kind of a outgoing bunch. He's my thing one, I'm his thing two. And we just love to have a good time. We like to grab life by the horns and just be adventurous, you know?
What other kinds of things have y'all done other than riding hot air balloons?
Well, last year for our anniversary, we went skydiving. The year before that, I think we did rock climbing, and it's just always
Scuba
been...
diving, everything. We're that couple. Like, our lives is very, very active. We are doing something every week. That's something that's always fun.
Y'all sound like thrill seekers, though.
Oh, yeah.
So, Mr. Nelson, tell me about Magic in the Air.
Well, Your Honor, I have a very successful hot air balloon service. I've been in business successfully for 25 years now. We've got a strong online presence. If you look at our website, you'll see all kinds of reviews that are positive and reinforcing with respect to the kind of customer service that we provide. Some of our customers come back 2, 3, 4, 5 times they come back to fly. So we at Magic in the Air, we feel like we're trying to create a magical experience.
The Simons are thrill seekers, skydiving, rock climbing, living life on the edge. But on this day, they expected magic, not mayhem. Enter Mr. Nelson, a hot air balloon operator with 25 years of experience and, until now, a clean safety record. But how did that clean record turn into a catastrophe?
Experience, not just a hot air balloon ride.
You ever had anybody get hurt before this incident?
No, as a matter of fact, we haven't had any kind of incident with respect to this.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Simon, tell me what happened.
It was a beautiful day. You know, we were super excited. The night before, I went and purchased a camera because I wanted to capture every moment. I want to take 1,000,001 pictures, as I always do. So we get onto the hot air balloon, and we decided we just started kind of ascending in the air. And as soon as we take off, a huge gust of wind just comes out of nowhere, and we go right into this tent, and it tumbles us over. We fly into the tent and down, face on the ground.
You all actually came out of the basket?
Came out of the basket and hit the ground.
We hit the ground like rag dolls, Your Honor. Like, just imagine we bounce off the tent and then just on the ground.
And this is from like about a good 30 feet in the air.
You all could have been killed out there.
We could have been.
I thought I was dead. I couldn't move, my back was in pain.
This is
my
the
foot
kind of
was in
stuff
pain.
people dream about or have nightmares about, really.
Yeah,
Yes,
and, you know, and we're used to doing fun stuff. And it's like, how could this have happened to us on our anniversary? Like, this day will never be the same. I will always remember that day as the day that we almost died.
So, Mr. Nelson, how does this kind of thing happen?
Well, to be honest with you, Your Honor, we were having an eventful day that day, and we were celebrating our anniversary as well as the Simons celebrating theirs.
Tell me about your anniversary. Which one was it?
It was our 25th anniversary
Okay.
in business. And normally what I do at the beginning of the ride, before we ascend, I give the instructions, and I did that day just like I always do. Now, I had told them both that what they needed to do was to stay in the center of the gondola. And that's the basket that's up underneath the hot air balloon.
Your Honor, who stands in a hot air balloon to stand in the center of the balloon? No one does that.
Maybe people who are told to stand there.
There you go. There you go, yes.
Okay.
Now, you see how big Sheriff Matt is. Would he be standing in the middle?
If I asked
sure
him
there's a balloon to take
nicely,
him
yeah,
up,
I
but-
guess he would.
But you give
One gust of wind, just one, and everything spiraled. The Simons described being launched out of the basket like rag dolls, crashing into a tent from 30 feet up. The moment is vivid and terrifying. Ms. Simon says she thought she was going to die. This wasn't just a fall, it was a trauma that changed their lives forever.
But you give the same instructions to everyone.
Yes, oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I have to, otherwise it's not gonna work. And also, not any sudden movements at that point in time.
Okay.
Well, they obviously weren't listening because as I ascended, they immediately ran to one side of the gondola. They leaned over the side.
We did not
They
run.
leaned
The
over
wind,
the side and
the
they
wind
started
took
taking.
us.
Address me, Miss Simon, please.
They started taking pictures as they're leaning over the side. Now I'm
As
screaming.
you're taking off.
Yeah, and I'm screaming and hollering for them to get back into position, and they just totally ignored me. They just
Mr.
stayed.
Simon, did you all hear Mr. Nelson saying, stand in the middle, don't go to the edge,
Your
don't
Honor,
make any
Your
sudden
We
Honor.
couldn't
movement?
hear anything because it was so loud. And as soon as we ascended, the gust of wind came out of nowhere, which caused us to move in the gondola. The problem is we were way too close to the tent. He doesn't want to admit it. We were entirely too close to that tent.
Mr. and Mrs. Simon, you all submitted an exhibit to explain this.
Yes, sir.
I want you to take me through it. We'll
Yes,
put
Your
it up on the plasma here. Take your time, Miss Simon.
Thank you.
Roseanne Sitzer Nelson claims he gave clear instructions, stay in the center of the gondola, no sudden moves. But the Simons fire back, saying they couldn't even hear him over the noise. And then it drops. Miss Simon insists they were way too close to the tent to begin with. This moment turns from miscommunication to possible miscalculation.
Coming up,
As soon as we ascend off the ground, the gust of wind comes out of nowhere, and we come and hit this tent.
I remember hearing a crack in my hip. I remember hearing the break. I thought I was dying in that moment. I'm sorry, can I
You can
please
do
sit
whatever makes you comfortable. If you need to sit down
Thank you,
in your
Your Honor.
wheelchair, take your time. In order to understand how this balloon works from a physics perspective, the court has consulted physics expert Katie Lowry.
The balloon basically rises diagonally toward the tent and ultimately collides with the tent.
As soon as we take off, a huge gust of wind just comes out of nowhere. We fly into the tent and down.
We hit the ground like rag dolls, Your Honor. Just on the ground.
You all submitted an exhibit to explain this.
Yes, sir.
I want you to take me through it.
As soon as we ascend off the ground, the gust of wind comes out of nowhere, and we come and hit this tent. Right at the tip of it, it tips us over, and we immediately fall out, bounce off, and hit the ground face first. It's the worst experience I've ever experienced in my life.
I almost fell out as well. And the point is, Your Honor, they not only endangered their lives, but they endangered my lives and the lives of the people on the ground.
Well, you realize you weren't hurt and they were badly hurt,
Exactly.
right?
You don't have any
Yeah, because
injuries.
they were hurt because they were hanging off the side of the basket when this all took place.
This would not have happened had they stayed in place.
No, exactly. That's my point.
As you can
Here's where science steps in. A physics expert confirms it. The balloon's path would have sent it straight into the tent, even without the gust of wind. So now the real issue is proximity. Should the launch have even happened from that spot? Because the numbers don't lie.
As you can see from this diagram, Your Honor, the wind basically took control of the hot air balloon.
So you weren't trying to go to the edge and take pictures.
No, sir. And as you can see, we were way too close to this tent.
Miss Simon, you may come back to the podium. Take your time. Now, Mr. Simon, you've been quiet like a good husband.
He's
Yes,
an
Your Honor.
amazing husband.
Tell me what you remember about this incident.
I feel like I don't remember much of the fall, much of the bounce. I remember hearing a crack in my hip. I remember hearing the brake. I remember not knowing if that was my brake because of the pain I was in or the brake of my wife. I didn't know if I was going to see her again. I didn't know if I was going to see again, period, myself. I thought I was dying in that moment.
Let me tell you what's making me ticklish. It takes a lot of discipline to stay in the middle of that basket until you get to the right height. I could see myself running to the edge, right?
We were just trying to get to a certain point to where we can get good pictures. I automatically saw.
That sounds like
tent.
you're walking toward the edge, though.
No, I mean, standing in the gondola, we wanted to see the views, and we're trying to get to a certain level that we can see all of that.
And Your Honor, nobody
That-
said they couldn't see that. I just told them during the liftoff to stay centered. Once we got up there, certainly they would be able to move more to the perimeter.
How high are you supposed to get before they can move from the center?
Okay, as a licensed pilot of hot air balloons, I have to be certified in certain meteorological areas.
Yes, sir.
And we don't have an engine in a hot air balloon. All we have is the wind. That's what controls our moving forward and backward and from side to side. On that particular day, it was a great day, weather-wise. There was like a slight 4-mile-an-hour wind out of the northwest, but that's insignificant. That's nothing for a hot air balloon.
That's a good day to fly, isn't it, Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, definitely.
And he's supposed to be an expert, and it's his job to make sure that we're safe.
That's
This
not
isn't just about broken bones. Mr. Simon couldn't tell whether the cracking sound he heard was his own hip or his wife's spine. Miss Simon breaks down as she shares she can't even sleep or be intimate with her husband anymore. It's pain that goes far beyond medical bills. This is the kind of pain that haunts you.
That's not completely correct under the law. The law requires Mr. Nelson to act reasonably to reduce the risk of harm, not to ensure that you're not harmed.
I
Next.
actually have a broken back. I have permanently rods.
I'm
in
sorry,
my-
but you're responsible.
Oh, you're sorry now. That's the
please
first
address
time you
me.
said sorry.
Folks, Miss Simon, please address me. Thank you, Miss Lowry, for being with us. Can you explain the physics behind how this accident happened?
The balloon would have risen 50 feet vertically, barely missing the tent. With the gust of wind, it absolutely would have basically collided with the tent, and there's absolutely no way you could have avoided a collision.
They started taking pictures as they're leaning over the side. Now I'm
As
screaming.
you're taking off.
Yeah.
The wind basically took control of the hot air balloon.
Mr. Nelson, you knew what the wind was like that day, right?
Exactly.
And
But
you're supposed to anticipate what the wind is going to be.
that was a shearing wind that came across. And this was what I call a perfect storm.
Okay.
It was the Simons crossing to the side of the gondola, leaning over the side,
Okay.
tilting the basket, where the flame, the burner, could not ignite the balloon.
If they had not moved to the edge, even with the wind, this wouldn't have happened?
No, of course not. No, they would have never fallen out.
We would
Mr. and Mrs. Simon, you all submitted $275,000 in past medical bills.
Yes, sir.
I see that you're asking the court for $75,000 for lost wages.
We haven't worked in weeks since the incident because we've been in the hospital.
So y'all not working, you're trying to heal
And
up.
we're gonna be out 3 more months because we have to have rehab. I actually have a broken back that I have.
Mr. Nelson stands firm this wasn't his fault. But the court reminds everyone of a key fact. He's a common carrier held to a higher legal standard. Even slight negligence means he's responsible. And the court calculates he should have been 350 feet from the tent, not 100. That distance may have made all the difference.
That I have to now. I have permanently rods.
I'm
in
sorry,
my-
but you're
Oh,
responsible.
you're sorry
Mr.
now. That's
Nelson,
the
please
first
address
time
me.
you've said sorry.
Folks,
That's
please
the
address
first time
me.
you've said sorry.
Miss Simon, please address me. You submitted this diagram from your doctor. This is the hardware in your back. They put these rods in to stabilize all those levels.
I can't even make love to my own husband. Simple things that I'm used to doing, I can't do anymore. It's hard to even sleep.
And that's
And
why
I-
you're asking this court for $500,000 for your pain and suffering, and $350,000 for emotional distress. Mr. Simon, you broke off the top of your femur. You need a hip replacement.
Yes,
You got
Your
your arm in a sling. What were your other injuries?
My hip, my pelvis, Your Honor, and my, I'm sorry, can I
Can
please
do
sit
whatever makes you comfortable. If you need to sit down
Thank you,
in
Your
your
Honor.
wheelchair. Take your time.
Thank you, Your Honor. The pain has been nonstop since the accident. We can't do things like walk our dog.
Your Honor, you know what? I have sympathy for what has happened to them, but I can't take blame for this. It's not my fault. I mean, ultimately, they're responsible for pins in their back and the fact that
We're
they
responsible for
can't
pins in
make
our back?
love anymore.
Wow.
Folks,
Maybe you needed
we're gonna have
some
order
love.
in the court. In order to understand how this balloon works from a physics perspective, the court has consulted physics expert Katie Lowry. Sheriff, will you bring Miss Lowry in to talk to us about these hot air balloons?
Yes, sure.
Thank you, Miss Lowry, for being with us. Can you explain the physics behind how this accident happened?
Yes, so I brought along a model with me today, and
Judge Brogden doesn't flinch. He finds Mr. Nelson negligent under federal law. The Simons are awarded the full $1.2 million, a powerful decision with a clear message. Safety isn't optional when you're in the business of flying people into the sky.
and upon ascent, the balloon will rise at approximately 3 feet per second. The day of the incident, the wind was traveling at 4 miles per hour northwest, and it was causing the balloon basically to go horizontally. So when you combine those two together, the balloon basically rises diagonally toward the tent and ultimately collides with the tent.
But Mr. Nelson talked about this sudden gust of wind, this shearing wind. How does that play in this?
So at the balloon launch site, it's approximately 100 feet from the tent. And taking those wind speeds into consideration, even without the gust of wind, the balloon would have risen 50 feet vertically, barely missing the tent. With the gust of wind, it absolutely would have basically collided with the tent, and there's absolutely no way you could have avoided a collision.
Your Honor.
Mr.
Entirely too
Nelson,
close.
is 100 feet appropriate?
Yes, it's more than appropriate if, in fact, they were not hanging off the side of the gondola. She's not taking that into consideration.
I think I've heard what I need to hear. I'm ready to render my decision.
The verdict is in.
You all say you stayed in the middle and you hit the tent, it tipped you out of the basket, and you were nearly killed. Mr. Nelson, you don't think it's your fault. One, because you had a wind come at you that was unexpected, and they moved to the edge of the basket, tipped it just as you hit that tent.
The wind basically took control of the hot air balloon.
If they had not moved to the edge, this wouldn't have happened?
No, of course not.
At the balloon launch site, it's approximately 100 feet from the tent, and there's absolutely no way you could have avoided a collision.
In every personal injury case, the plaintiffs, Mr. and Mrs. Simon, you all have to prove that the defendant committed a wrong that caused your harm. Your harm is undisputed. There are allegations that you all went to the side of the basket and made it tip. You all say you stayed in the middle and you hit the tent, it tipped you out of the basket and you were nearly killed. This should not have happened this way, and you all should have had a happy anniversary. Mr. Nelson, you agree that this should not have happened this way, but you don't think it's your fault. One, because you had a wind come at you that was unexpected.